Good time zone, Gen Friends, and welcome to CrossGen Friends, your gaming, pop culture, and tech podcast with a multi-generation point of view. I am Byron Miller, and with me always is Joe LaRussa. How are you today, Joe?
I am tired today, Byron, because we are recording much earlier than normal, and I am not a fan of 9 a.m. on any day of the week, but particularly not on Saturday, which is also earlier. We're recording one full day and a few hours earlier than normal for a particularly good reason. So
Yeah,
for
we'll
that
get there.
reason, I'll pass it over to you and say, what's your happy place this week?
So the reason we're recording a day early is tomorrow's my wife's birthday. She turns 21 years old and will be able to drink for the first time. But we have a day planned out with her. We're going to go to a basketball game and then come home and do dinner of some kind that she would like and probably watch holiday movies because that's the curse of having a birthday around Christmas time. We had friends over last night to celebrate. I made the mac and cheese that I always make that is pretty fantastic, I have to say, and everybody enjoyed that, with the exception of the one person who doesn't eat cheese, but she's weird and we don't talk about her
You didn't bring mac and cheese to when we met in person? Come on, why not?
because it takes longer than I want to spend on a Saturday morning to make it, but a Friday afternoon is perfectly fine. But it's a
Fair.
good, the recipe is it's an Ina Garten recipe, and it's cheddar. The sharper the cheddar, the better.
Oh,
And
the Barefoot Contessa.
yep,
That's right.
and then some kind of a Swiss-esque type cheese is the other kind of cheese in it, and it doesn't call for it, but I always put ham in it and tomatoes. You can never have too many tomatoes in it, and it's pretty good. I like mac and cheese a lot. I like to make mac and cheese. I'm pretty good at it, to be perfectly honest. One of the best presents I ever got for Christmas, a Secret Santa from Oakland got me a cookbook and a mug from a macaroni and cheese place out there that I don't know if it exists still because this is probably 15 years ago, but it's called Homeroom. And it was started by two school teachers. And the cookbook is just all kinds of different mac recipes that they have there. And they're all themed like schoolhouse stuff. And so the cookbook is almost like a notebook. It's hardbound, but the
Uh,
pages are like notebook type drawings, and it's pretty good. I like it. I like mac and cheese.
my grandma used to be a fan of Ina Gardner's show and all that stuff. This was years and years ago when she was more interested in cooking. She's 90 now, so she doesn't really do much cooking anymore. But I just remember her watching Barefoot Contessa and Giada De Laurentiis, on Food Channel or Food Network or whatever, and she would always be getting recipes and trying them out. She was in her prime. She was a huge fan of cooking, but particularly of baking. She really liked to bake things, and she would get her recipes from all of these various food chef experts on TV there. So that's cool. That's cool that you've got a recipe like that. I also enjoy mac and cheese. I do not make mac and cheese. I make things usually not with cheese in it. I make more sauce-based things like Italian foods, like, chicken piccata and chicken marsala, things of that sort. Let me ask the mac and cheese. Do you figure out ways to like lower the calories? Because mac and cheese can be very heavy in the
No,
calories, I have to
no,
say.
no. You're invested into it. When you're making mac and cheese, you're cooking with butter, you're cooking with flour, um, obviously cheese, and a crap ton of pasta. So no, you have to
Well,
pick
I
and choose your battles.
the reason I ask is because when I came down to Florida over summer, most recently, other than this visit here, I stopped in Publix and I saw that they had mac and cheese on the, in like the deli counter area, for your hot foods section that you can get stuff. And they had two mac and cheeses. They had one mac and cheese and it was extremely heavy calories and whatnot. And then they had an extra one, a second one, which I'd never seen, and it was like cheddar and Gouda cheese combo. And the calories in that was literally half the calories in the mac and cheese, the regular mac and cheese there. And maybe it's just different types of cheese that have lower calories. I don't know.
I mean, all different kinds of cheeses have different amounts of protein and fat in them, but I mean, I can't believe it changes that much that it matters.
Hmm.
I would think they're using less cheese in the one that has fewer calories, or they're not making their sauces heavy. So when you make a macaroni and cheese, and you do make a sauce for it, it is a sauce dish. You make a bechamel sauce, and it depends how much of that you make. And the reason you make that is to help the cheese melt more consistently and smoothly. So you could lower the amount of bechamel you make, and I guess you could put less cheese in it. If it's strong cheese, maybe you don't need as much. But I mean, if it's not going to be gooey, it's not mac and cheese.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the finer details of it as I have not I'm not an expert, but I can say that it was tasty nonetheless. I enjoyed the I got to enjoy all the deliciousness of mac and cheese with purportedly fewer calories than otherwise.
Well, that's the
So
important thing that you enjoy it.
I
My
do,
mac and
I do.
cheese hot take is there is a place for box mac and cheese. Is it as good as homemade? No, it's not. But I'm a fan of Kraft mac and cheese or whatever the store brand is with canned tuna in it. That's always been a pretty good, easy meal.
I always actually grew up on Velveeta mac and cheese. That was my go-to mac and cheese there, where it's like that cheese, the silver container with cheese in it already, and you
The
squeeze it
squeeze
out.
pouch, yeah, I try to stay
I
away from Velveeta much, but
I mean, I have to say, I grew up with it. I do love it, but having made it as an adult, you kind of have to like mentally get past the fact that you're squeezing out yellow goop into your food.
yellow is
Um,
not the right word.
Colorblind, so if it's not yellow,
No,
I don't know.
it's a toxic variation of yellow.
Okay. So you have to get used to that. And then but I also like Kraft. They have totally different tastes too, like
Oh,
just
they
the
do.
basic Kraft mac and cheese. And they're both really good. It's kind of like, what are you in the mood for?
They're both not really good, but they have their place.
I, I enjoy both of them was my point, but I obviously enjoy homemade stuff or restaurant made mac and cheese more because it is higher quality than that. But this is a lot
Yeah.
of conversation on mac and cheese.
Oh, I can talk about mac and cheese or cooking for hours. That and Disney, you can get me on a tangent. So
Oh
let's move
boy.
on. What's your happy place, Joe?
Yeah, my happy place this week is Wahlburgers. Byron, have you ever had a Wahlburger before?
I rarely go to Walmart, so I assume that's not what it is, but it very well could be. So obviously, I've not had a Wahlburger.
Wahlburgers is the restaurant chain owned by Mark Wahlberg, the actor, and his family because one of the brothers is a professional chef. And so they started this restaurant chain, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 years ago. It's been around for a while, and it is my absolute favorite burger. And it is a restaurant chain that eludes me, meaning every time I go to a place that there's a Wahlburgers or one opens up around me, it is essentially doomed. Uh, I I lived in New York, and they started opening Wahlburgers in New York, and they had one on the Upper East Side. They had one in Coney Island, and they had one in Port Jefferson, Long Island. When I worked in the city, they opened up the Wahlburgers in the Upper East Side, and then that shut down for some sort of health food concern. The city shut it down, so that was gone. I moved down into to Brooklyn so that I was a train ride away from the Coney Island one. It only opened for like one season that it was there, maybe 2 seasons that it was there, and it shut down. I took the train to Port Jefferson, Long Island, which is like the end of Long Island, not quite the end, but very far out in Long Island. One time I went there, and they shut down. So I moved to Florida. And just before I moved to Florida, as I was planning to move here, COVID happens, and they had two Wahlburgers in Orlando and one in Key West, or maybe the Key West one never even opened, and the two in Orlando shut down. So I have been chasing Wahlburgers for a very long time. And finally, they have re entered the state of Florida in the form of a food truck. It is a food truck in a Home Depot parking lot in Rockledge, Florida.
So real quick, the Google machine says there is one at Vero Beach, which is a haul, but
They are opening the one in Vero Beach, or it just opened. I don't recall. That is true. It is also another food truck version of it.
uh,
They are primarily food truck versions in Florida right now, but it just means a smaller menu with the same quality food. It's still very good. Rockledge is much closer. If you know Port Canaveral, like the port over that way, Victory Casino
where the
Cruise and
cruise
all that
ships go.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, uh, it's just like 10 minutes south of there. It's just down the road. So for me, it's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to get there. And I definitely went there this week. And I got there and I saw the place and I took a picture and I sent it to some people, and uh that know I love Wahlburgers, and they were very happy for me. And then I showed them the Home Depot that it was next to, because my one buddy, he is a former Home Depot employee of a long time, and I just showed him the Wahlburgers truck, And he goes, that looks like it's a Home Depot behind it. He couldn't even see the sign or the coloring. He's just like, that looks like a Home Depot. And I was like, it is. And I took another picture and uh I showed him that. And so I got to go there and I ordered the food and it was glorious and it's so good. And really the key to all of it, Byron, is their wall sauce. It's their topping that they put on there. It's amazing. They actually sell it in stores too, which is really cool.
So it's
Um,
mayonnaise mixed with some ketchup and some relish, or what is wall
n-
sauce?
I don't I don't believe it's mayo based. It might have a mayo in there at some point. I'm not a mayo person. I don't really do mayo by itself. I can't stand it
Mm.
alone. But I don't mind it when it's mixed in as like an aioli kind of thing because it's different enough. But I believe it's ketchup and mustard mixed in together. I don't know if there's a mayo base to it, but whatever they do to it, it is delicious, and I love it very much. And so I order it and I eat the burger, and one of the employees comes over and checks in because I was sitting on a picnic bench outside eating my burger. And she goes, "How was everything good?" I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, always is my absolute favorite burger." And she goes, "Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it." I said, "Yeah, I'm always trying to find one. You guys finally opened over here. I drove here. I drove an hour here from Orlando." And she goes, "Wow, you used to have them right near you." I was like, "We sure did." So yeah, very that is that like if I didn't go to Epcot with my fiance, that would be my favorite day of my entire trip is going to get a Wahlburger. And
So
it's a close rival of Epcot.
are they thick burgers or are they smash burgers? Are they stuffed burgers? What kind are they?
They're regular burgers. They're just patties. I think they do offer a smash burger now. I don't actually like the concept of smash burgers. I don't like that kind of burger. I'm not a fan of it. Even the restaurant smash burger is okay. Uh, but I get the double burger stack, so it's two, I think 1/3 pound patties stacked on top of each other with cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion. It's with government cheese is what it's called
Mm.
because it's American
I don't
cheese.
I don't do American cheese.
You can get cheddar cheese. They do have cheddar like other cheeses available, but yeah, it's with government cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle. I think it's pickle. I forget, honestly. I think there's pickle. And then the wall sauce on just a regular bun. I mean, it is a perfectly average burger when it comes to how it looks. It just tastes that good. And I can show you this. This is the picture of the burger now.
Yep, that is fake
And
cheese right there.
but you don't need to have that cheese. You can have a cheddar cheese on there, but the government cheese just makes it's just something special about it. Um, One thing that I do miss about Wahlburgers that I didn't order this time is they actually have a very good salad. I used to get like a side salad from there, and they would have this really good dressing. Do you what dressings do you put on your salad when you have a salad?
I do not. I'm not a huge salad fan. Um, I think that you get rid of any kind of health qualities of salads whenever you put dressing on it. So if I'm going to eat that kind, I'd rather have the hamburger. When I eat a salad, it'll typically be something. I don't like lettuce much. I like spinach, and I would rather just
Mhm.
have the vegetables by themselves than put salad dressing on it. Publix actually does a fantastic salad that has strawberries and pecans on it that I kind of like, but typically I don't eat salad much.
Okay, so I understand your point on the dressing. I think you're right if you smother it in dressing, of course. I try not to put
Americans
too
do.
much. They do. I try not to smother it. I went to my favorite Italian restaurant and they give you that little cup of dressing for and like even that like I don't even you need that whole little bit for the salad they give you. But the Wahlburgers used to make this delicious red wine vinaigrette that was not a vinaigrette. They would call it vinaigrette. It used to say red wine vinaigrette on their menu, but it was not a vinaigrette. It was very thick and creamy, and it's the only creamy dressing that I've ever actually really enjoyed. And it was just fantastic. I would put it on my salad. I would enjoy it. And then I went to the restaurant one time, and they were like, "Sorry, we don't have that anymore, but we have the stuff to make it if you want." I was like, "So you'll just make a thing, a dressing just for me?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll do that." And so I've done that so at so many Wahlburgers. They'll just make this dressing. Just put it together. They have the ingredients to make the dressing, and then sure enough, it shows up in the dressings there. I did not do that at this place because it
Ah,
was a food truck,
they have
and
your
I didn't
picture
even
by the
want to try.
register. The guy is here again. Make the dressing.
Yeah. But it used to be really good. It was very very good red wine based dressing. And I love Wahlburgers so much. It makes me so happy. I was telling to some friends that I'd made this drive there, and they were like, I would never drive that far for a food truck. And some of them were like, I would never drive that far for anything. And I was like, Wahlburgers' existence in a location is so fundamental to me that it will not be a deciding factor, but it will influence my decision as to whether I go someplace for vacation or not.
Well, as somebody who's food motivated and has followed the Bidia food truck around, I understand.
Yeah, when Jing and I went to Myrtle Beach for our very first vacation together in August of 2023, uh part of the reason I suggested going there is because Myrtle Beach has a Wahlburgers not too far from it.
All right. Well,
Vegas has a Wahlburgers. Boston has Wahlburgers. These are all
in
places I've been to and have been for the
Boston has a
Wahlburgers.
Wahlburgers in Fenway Park. Apparently,
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
I don't know if it's actually maybe they have one in
It's
there
either
now.
in or at. It said
When
Fenway Park.
when I went to Boston and when I went to Wahlburgers there, I went to the one across from Fenway. That was the closest I ever got to Fenway was to go to the Wahlburgers.
But you know there'd be nothing more Boston than having a Mark Wahlberg restaurant inside of Fenway Park, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Logan Airport has Wahlburgers in it. That makes flying through Logan fun. Um, the airport in Canada, in Toronto, in the international terminal, has a Wahlburgers in it, but you can't get there if you're not flying internationally, which is unfortunate. Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe it's their domestic terminal. One of the terminals that you can't cross over into if you're going one way or the other is there. And I was very upset because when I was in Canada a couple of years ago, I was hoping to get the burger there. But yeah, I love Wahlburgers. It's wonderful. Everyone go eat it. I'm sorry to spend 8 minutes or so talking about it, but it's well worth it, and I loved it very much. So we can move on to other things now, Byron.
All right. It's week before Christmas or the week of Christmas, depending on when you're listening. So it's a kind of a short news week, but because I'll latch on to any kind of news about Half-Life 3, Ars Technica is detailing a recent Insider Gaming podcast where industry reporter Mike Straw is confidently standing by his Half-Life 3 reporting that it is real and a release title for the Steam Cube. He says his sourcing is strong, but there could be other factors such as the ongoing component pricing and shortage issues that could delay its timing. I've been waiting for Half-Life 3 for, I don't want to say how long, I guess 20 years now. Half-Life 2 is one of the greatest games ever made. It still holds up graphically. It is a beautiful game. It is a fantastic narrative, and there's a reason people are looking forward to it. Valve rarely misses when they make games. It's rare that they make games, but when they do, they're good.
I'm not actually sure I've ever played a game that Valve has made.
No Team
Um,
Fortress, no Portal, no Left 4 Dead.
nope.
I don't think you do puzzle games, but Portal is one of the best. I may actually like Portal 2 more than I like Half-Life 2. It's that good.
Yeah, I don't do puzzle games. No, I'm not a puzzle game person. Um, I know Half-Life is legendary. I just have never had. It's old. Like remake it or something. Officially remake it, and I'll play it.
Like, check it out. Honestly, it looks good. Everybody probably has a free copy of it by now, but the engine holds up remarkably well. I think I've said many
Yeah,
times that 3D graphics age very poorly, but Half-Life, I think it's the Source engine. Half-Life
it's
looks
source. Yeah.
great to this day. Portal holds up very well. I mean, Portal's also very cube graphics because of the setting, but both of those
Hmm.
games look great even today. And they did release an update maybe 5 years ago where they added RTX to it, I believe.
I don't think it was that long ago because I remember that. I think it was a little bit more recently, but yeah, I heard about that upgrade to it. I don't know. I just have
Well,
so many other things to play.
I understood, but yeah, Half-Life 2 is a game that everybody should play. Half-Life 1 is good, but it's not Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is top 10 of all time.
That's part, like I know how they're connected to one another, so I wouldn't want to play two without having played one, you
I
know?
played 2 before I played 1, honestly, and it's fine.
But then you did play one.
Then I did play 1. I wanted to play 1. All right, on to
Yeah,
the
well, I hope that it comes out. You know, I know there are a lot of Half-Life fans, so I hope that the game does ship eventually someday, maybe. Not maybe. I really do hope it comes out though, because I know people like you have been waiting a long time for it.
Yeah. So on to you with the next news story with another frequent target of this show.
Yeah, Tencent Horizon clone pulled from stores as Sony settles lawsuit, says the headline from Video Games Chronicle. Sony and Tencent have settled their dispute over upcoming Tencent game Light of Motorum. Says Sony has settled its dispute over upcoming Tencent game Light of Motorum, which it accused of being a slavish clone of the Horizon series. According to court docs filed this week via the Game Post, the two companies have reached a confidential settlement, and it appears that the game has also been delisted from Steam and Epic Games Store. Sony first filed the lawsuit in California federal court in July, alleging copyright and trademark infringement and claiming Light of Motorum was so close to Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West that players could be confused into thinking it's part of the same series. Tencent had responded, calling the claims startling, and accused Sony of trying to monopolize a part of popular culture. Earlier this month, it halted public testing of the game while the lawsuit played out. And according to this week's filing, Sony and Tencent have now jointly asked the court to dismiss the case after a confidential settlement was agreed. The lawsuit will be dismissed with prejudice, which means that the case will be closed and cannot be brought back to court later. Notably, at the same time as the court filing appeared, Light of Motorum's product pages on both Steam and Epic Games Store were removed, potentially suggesting that Tencent could be making changes to the game. And then it just reads the court docs, which just is stating the law for this for the settlement and the dismissal of the case. So yeah, the lawsuit, the epic saga that was to be, is not to be. Sony versus Tencent. What are your thoughts, Byron?
Good. Make your own games. It's that easy. Like if you're gonna, we've talked about it many times, so I don't want to go into it too much more. But copyright, trademarks, etc. Like there, you can't copyright a concept, but you can copyright the details of it. So if you want to borrow a concept, go for it. I don't really have a problem with Power World as long as it's not an exact clone, but this seemed like an exact clone. So good, go do your own thing.
Yeah, it the it's hard to explain in detail, but the way to actually infringe on copyright is it really has to be so very close to it. So for Tencent to have settled and Sony to have been satisfied, there there has to have been a smoking gun that we have not seen, because despite the closeness and similarities to what we have seen, I don't see a copyright infringement in here. I do see some trademark infringement if I were analyzing it, because trademark is done with the intent to confuse. Like the to determine whether something infringes on a trademark, a huge piece of that is likelihood of confusion. How likely is an average member, a reasonable person, to be confused and mix up your thing with the thing that has the trademark to it? So I think the average customer would be extremely confused looking at Light of Motorum and think it's Horizon. So I don't think that's a bad claim there. But if they actually would have won on copyright, like there would have to be something. Like they would have to have really aimed for that. Copyright is hard to infringe on without literally taking the thing directly, which is one of the reasons the Palworld lawsuit was interesting, in that some people were trying to claim that, oh, the proportions are exactly the same. They took the code, they took exactly the code and whatnot from Nintendo, or some sort of nonsense like that, which again would be extremely difficult to do. So yeah, I am glad this is settled. I thought Light of Motorum looked kind of interesting, so I'm curious what Tencent will turn it into to make it not Horizon, or maybe they came to some sort of licensing agreement. Maybe Sony realized, hey, maybe we can license out Horizon and have Tencent make it. Like that is not an impossible outcome here, because do you remember the court filings, Byron? They said uh Tencent went to Sony and said, hey, we want to make Eastern Horizon. Can we do it pretty please? And Sony was like, no. And maybe Sony said yes now. Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe they, who knows? We will never really know what that settlement says, barring some sort of leak of it. But we can make some inferences once we see what Tencent does with Light of Motorum. Meaning, if it never comes out or nothing like it ever comes out, then we know that they did something bad.
Well, stay tuned here for any kind of Horizon or Ashley Burch news.
Yes, I've seen your comments in our YouTube descriptions.
Yep. So yeah, next story from me is this week Nintendo is or it's been rumored because it's coming out on it that Nintendo is releasing smaller game carts to allow developers to release physical game cartridge titles and not use the key cards that a lot of people have been upset about. R-Type Dimensions 3, I think, is the first one that's coming out on the smaller size. And from my understanding, I don't have a Switch 2 yet. Maybe in this next year I'll get one. Um, the cost of making cards big enough to store games has been an issue. So they've been doing key cards, which are essentially physical dummy plugs that go in there and allow you to have access to the game. And then you can trade it with friends and let them play it. But the key is in the key card that allows you to download the game. The problem being, if the ability to download the game goes away, then your ability to have the game goes away and you
Right.
never really own it.
Can you explain to me what the size has to do with anything? Because to me, I was like, wait, they're making smaller Switch cartridges. Wouldn't that make it harder because they're now smaller and there's less storage space on there? Like,
Well,
I'm
but
confused.
not every game is the same size. And an R type
Right.
game that's a side scroller doesn't have the same assets as Red Dead Redemption. That's a gigantic game with big 3D models. So,
Uh-huh.
you may have a 5 gigabyte game and you may have a 200 gigabyte game if it's a Call of Duty game. And so you only need as much space on the cartridge for the size of your game. And if the only cartridges that Nintendo's allowing are 250 gigabit cartridges, then you've got a lot of wasted space if you're doing a 5 gig game, I guess, which is a 40 gigabit game multiplied by 8. So when they make smaller cartridges, the cost goes down because it's actual storable memory on the cartridge. And it costs more money to put 256 gigabit than it does to put 64 gigabit. Just like RAM costs more and SSDs cost more depending on how much of it you get.
So I thought the issue was that the cartridges weren't big enough and they didn't have enough storage space on it. So you're saying the actual issue is that there's too much space and these little games are going the key card route because they don't need that much
No, no, no,
storage
no.
space?
No, the reason the key cards were there is because the cost of the problem with cartridges, and Nintendo has almost, I guess the Wii and the Wii U didn't do it, but when you have cartridge based games, you're having to pay for the expensive storage on the
Right.
cartridges, and it's harder to have enough capacity to do it, which is why CD-ROMs and DVDs and Blu-rays came to be. They
Right.
they are cheaper to have a vast amount of storage space. They're also much slower, which is why Nintendo's stuck with cartridges for so long. Um, but then with mobile consoles, the discs were a problem because they're slow. They're a physical moving object, so it takes a lot of battery power to get it going, and
Yeah.
they're very susceptible to bumps and shakes and move, which is what you do with
Right.
a
They get damaged. Yeah.
yeah. And so a lot of mobile devices have stuck with either downloading or cartridges because it's easy
Uh-huh.
to do, and I buy cartridges for my Switch. So you don't want to make these gigantic cartridges that cost a ton of money because there's a fixed cost in making a 256 gigabit cartridge, and I'm just making up a number here. And if you don't need that, then you're investing a whole lot of money into the manufacture of each cartridge that you may or may not recoup.
Yeah.
But if you can right size it by putting an appropriate amount of memory in it, then the costs go down and you only utilize what you need. And that sounds like what Nintendo is doing here. They're allowing for options. So I guess if you wanted to make a gigantic game and a gigantic cartridge, you could and charge the premium for it. Or you could release the key cards and let people download the game and store it on their internal storage.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I was under the impression that the problem with Nintendo's cartridges at the moment was that they were too small in storage space and games were too big, and so people were using the key card because they didn't have enough storage space on the cartridge. But what you're telling me is no, the cartridge was already way too big and they didn't need that much space, so it was costing them too much money to use the cartridge. That's why they were using the key card
That
because
was
they
my
were
understanding. As not a Switch 2 owner, that was the problem, is that people were they weren't using the cartridges. They weren't making cartridges. They were going the download route, which some people really didn't want to do because it requires storage on your Switch.
right. No, I understand the whole download versus cartridge argument there. I just thought the reason people were using the key cards was because the storage on the cartridge was not big enough, and I'm hearing now that it was actually they didn't need that much space, and it was a waste of money to pay for such an expensive cartridge. That's what
Yeah,
I okay.
yeah, and there
Makes
were other
sense.
thoughts about why they're using the key cards. There's always the thought that that Nintendo or other they're not special in this would rather license the game to you than sell the game to you because
Well,
there are more options for them to maintain ownership of the property. When you sell somebody a disc, they have that disc forever, and you can't take it away from them. But if you license something, you can pull it away if whatever happens, which is not great for a consumer.
yeah, definitely. I still buy my games on disc as much as I can. I don't have everything on disc, and obviously PC games aren't on disc. But the funny thing to me, and has always been, I think we talked about this in an earlier episode, but I never understand why anyone would want to have the portable console on physical discs or on physical cartridges versus having it digitally. Like if you're gonna go digital, you go digital on the thing that's portable. If you're gonna be physical, be consistent, be physical and everything. Okay, but don't make the exception to the rule the thing that you take with you. That
But
seems just silly.
here's the reason why you would buy physical cartridges anyway is you're limited by the amount of storage on your device, and you may have 256 gigs on it, and that may store 2 or 3 games. And when you're mobile, you may or may not have the ability to connect to the internet and download and change games. But if you can carry 6 cartridges in your Switch carrying case, then that gives you more options. And what I typically do is I'll buy physical cartridges for the bigger games, and then smaller games I'll get downloaded because I can store a dozen of them.
Yeah, I don't remember if Switch 2 makes you download and install, not download, if it makes you install games from the cartridge onto the system. I'm actually not sure about that off the top of my head. I haven't tried because I know that the PS3 was the first console to force you to install your games from the disc, and Xbox you could run it from the disc.
Yeah, and some of them were the entire game, and some of them were enough runtime files, and they would access the larger resources from the disk. But yeah, I mean, it's a benefit and it's a problem.
Yeah. But
All right,
okay, well, I'm
next
glad that
story.
this is a thing that's solved
Yep.
for the smaller devs. You know, anything that help the smaller devs save money, cut costs as as needed to make their games more profitable because they're risky. The games are hard. Games are hard. Games are risky.
All right, what do we have as our last news story?
Yeah, last news story this week. Let's talk about everyone's favorite, least controversial, and most completely reasonable topic: AI use in games. True Game of the Year's Kingdom Come 2 game director Daniel Vavra has weighed in on the generative AI in games conversation after the whirlwind of backlash and response to 2023 GOTY winner Baldur's Gate 3's Sven Vink mentioned in an interview with Bloomberg that the team was using the tool in their development. BGC has a nice summary, and because this computer freaks out every time I try to do anything on it other than record this podcast, I will read it from my phone as I did with the previous article. It says, it's time, quote, it's time to face reality. AI is here to stay, end quote. Kingdom Come Deliverance studio head responds to Larian backlash. Uh, the co-founder of Kingdom Come Deliverance developer Warhorse Studios has shared his views on generative AI following online backlash to the news that Larian has been using it. Following Larian's reveal of a new Divinity game at the Game Awards, CEO Sven Vink confirmed to Bloomberg that the studio was using generative AI to explore early game ideas. Vink stated that Larian was using AI to, quote, explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text, end quote. But said no generative AI generated content would make it into the final game, and that, quote, everyone at the company is more or less okay with the way we're using it, end quote. This wasn't enough to satiate some players on social media who argue that even using generative AI for the concept phase meant replacing human ideas. This led to Vink defending his comments, posting on Twitter, uh, holy F guys, we're not pushing hard. Sorry, quote, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI online. We use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stages, we use as a rough outline for composition, which we replace which we replaced with original concept art. There is no comparison. And now Daniel Vavra, the co-founder of Warhorse, has chimed in, uh, and he claims on X that every studio is now using generative AI for similar work, and that while the technology has many negative aspects, people should accept that it is not going anywhere. And he says, "quote This AI hysteria is the same as when people were smashing steam engines in the 19th century." Larian said they were doing something that absolutely everyone else is doing and got an insanely crazy beep storm. Quote, I've never seen someone accuse us of using AI in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't know anything about it except that I used Topaz Labs to upscale some of the AI elements from Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and some of the old low res textures. I'm no fan of AI art, but anyway, it's time to face reality. AI is here to stay with us, as frightening as it may be. That's the way it is. Personally, it scares me in the most in music because you can't even recognize AI there anymore. Uh, and then it goes on to talk about some other things here. Uh, he says that, you know what I hate most about making games? The fact it takes 7 years and 300 people and tens of millions of dollars to make. If AI can help make an epic game with a year with a smaller team like the old days, I'm all for it. Yeah, so there's just a lot of chatter about this. I don't want to read the whole story here, but he goes on a whole bunch of things and concluding that the growth of generative AI in use in the industry is inevitable and people just need to get on board with it. So I don't want to read the entire article. Obviously, I've already read enough of it here. Go check it out on VGC. It's a very good write up, a good summary of what Daniel Vavra says. But I think that's enough for the news story and for talking points here. So, Byron, what are your thoughts on their comments? We'll talk more about AI in our wild card segment, but just give me your thoughts on what the discourse has been here.
Um, I mean, I don't want to delve too deep in it because we're going to talk about it in a little bit. But there's a balance to be made with AI. I mean, there are people who have hysteria over it, and there are people who think that it should be more than I think it should be. I'm somewhere in
Yeah.
the middle ground, and I'll say more in a little bit.
Yeah, I want to focus more on the backlash of people than I do on this particular on the AI topic right now because we'll talk about it later on, but people are crazy. Like they lost their minds
People are
over
crazy.
the
News at 11.
I know, right? Um, I couldn't believe how much backlash that Sven got to this, and you know that he had to come out in this way, and the way that Valvers had to come out and talk about it. Like, my goodness, people, it's almost like they're not aware of what's happening in the world. That yeah, the companies are using these AI tools. All the companies are using the AI tools because the people in charge of the companies are telling them they need to use AI tools at bare minimum. And then some people do it because they want to. Like, it shouldn't be that shocking that they're going to make use of this new development technology. I don't understand why it's so surprising.
So the key things to delve into here is people are crazy and people are confused. That's humanity in general.
It is. You're right. That is true. But I don't know. It's just I I go into pretty much everything I do now expecting there to have been some sort of AI LLM involved in the process somewhere along the way. I think you have to. And maybe that's just because I work in corporate and you've worked in corporate and do you consider yourself working in corporate right now? I don't even know. But you've worked in corporate and we know what the people at the top are telling us to do, right? And we see how it's infiltrating the businesses and it's going to be that way at all the businesses. I
So
don't see it to be different.
from what I'll say here, and it'll be the end for me, I think. In terms of how the market handles it, Valve is going to make people label if their games are produced using AI, whether the companies like it or not. And if you want to be on the biggest computer platform there is, then you're going to have to do it. And if you're concerned about backlash, then maybe you should explain what you're using it for. Um, if you use AI whole cloth to create a game, I think you're going to face some real market backlash for that, and probably rightfully so.
Yeah. Uh, my concern is that this was transparency about how it was being used, and Mr. Vink still got this backlash. Hence his holy F comment because of it. And he's trying to be transparent. He's trying to speak up about what they're using it for, and got pounded by the social media people. That's that's the concern on my end. Like I don't want him to, and I don't think I made this comment on Twitter in response to someone else, but I don't think he'll go and run and hide, but I don't think this kind of response is encouraging to people who are more timid or from smaller, less well beloved studios. I don't think it's encouraging them to come out and say we use the AI for this or use the AI for that. Uh,
Yep.
and then on the Valve point, I I think you're right that they're gonna make you do that, but when do you have to disclose that? Does Larian need to say AI was used in our concept art, even though there's no AI anything on the product on the Steam store?
I don't know. I don't know when they're required to and what they're required to do. I haven't read a developer licensing agreement with
Yeah, I haven't
Valve,
either.
so.
But but you see why I asked the question,
But
right? Because
I'll say if I have to trust a company, like the companies that I trust are limited to probably Costco, Valve, and Arizona Tea.
I do like Arizona tea. I used to drink gallons of that stuff every like a week, a gallon of that a week. I would go through that really quickly. I stopped because their zero sugar tea is not as good as their regular tea.
Yeah.
And that's why I have Snapple zero sugars because
Well,
these are closer.
I say we end that discussion and we end the AI discussion for the time being,
Yeah, we'll
and
drop
uh,
in the wild card
and
segment
move on.
for it.
Yeah. So
That's good.
yeah, next on the list is games we're playing, and I'm going to go ahead and go first because that's where we are in the script. But I've been playing Near. If you watched my live stream on Thursday, I proceeded with the main story. I still like Near. I have the ability to
Clarify
fast
which
travel.
near. There are two
Near
nears. Clarify which near.
Automata, game of the Eura 2017, 2019. I don't know, whatever. But Near Automata, not the other Near, not the original Near. So, as somebody told me, it's sexy robot Near and not sad dad Near. I haven't played the original one, so I don't know, but I'll throw that out there. I still like Near. Near is a lot of fun. I want to play more, and I kind of feel limited sometimes by saying that I'm going to live stream it or I'm going to record whenever I play because sometimes I don't want to set up to do that and have to be on camera. But I'm still enjoying it. I wish there were more drops for crafting materials. I feel very limited in my ability to upgrade weapons. I grab every drop that I see on the ground, which I don't always like feeling like I have to do, and I'm still not upgrading the weapons. The map is confusing. The map kind of stinks, but the gameplay is a lot of fun.
Is it a better or worse map than Control's map?
I don't remember Control's map, so I'm going to say better. Because if I
Okay.
don't remember the map, because I remember being confused a lot in Control about where I was going, but gosh, it's been what, 5 years since I played Control.
Yeah, Control's map is I almost didn't play that game because I heard people say how bad the map was. I'm glad I ended up playing it, but that map was a nightmare. Do you I was watching you stream. I didn't notice the crafting issue with you having to pick up materials and stuff. Do you just run over materials and pick it up, or do you have to actually like hit a button to pick
You
it
have to
up?
hit B. So there are treasure
Oh,
chests that you access with the B button, or the A button if you're on the Nintendo Switch, or the circle button if you're X button probably if you're on the play. I don't know. Anyway,
X button's the bottom button.
X button's the bottom, circle is the right button. It depends on how you. Yeah, that button, B button on the Xbox controller. And when there are drops on the ground, you can run over the gears and the nuts and bolts that give you experience. But any kind of other drops, I think you have to press the B button to pick it up. So
Okay.
it's slightly annoying, but it just
Yeah.
feels like there's not enough and they're too far apart.
That's really unfortunate. I think that resource balancing is one of the most important things for a game to have, because you never really want to feel like you don't have enough of something that's important. And uh, at least you could grind it out, I guess, right? Like enemies respawn, you can grind resources if you need to.
I guess, but that's a lot of backtracking and I have a lot of issues with the travel in this game. It just feels monotonous sometimes having to go across large fields, which is what I had to do before fast travel was there.
Yeah. The fast travel, it works though. It works well now that you have it.
Yeah, it works pretty well. You go into
That's
a
good.
vending machine and you reappear in a different vending machine. Like literally, that's what it is. It's freaking vending machines.
I know, but it doesn't make it not funny though. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying this game. I have never played Nier. It was interesting to watch you play it for a little bit and see the combat. It looks kind of desolate when you're running around though,
It
which
is. It's desolate. It's been after some kind of apocalypse or scenario, and It is desolate. There's everybody's either an android or a robot.
Yeah, now having seen watching you play is the most I'd ever seen of Nier. But so having seen Nier now, it really does. I totally get why people were like, "Oh, Stellar Blade just kind of wants to be Nier." And I'm like, "Yep, okay, it definitely wanted to be Nier," because I played Stellar Blade. I really enjoyed Stellar Blade a lot, but it was very much desolate desert areas with not a lot going on a couple times in there. Are there more environments besides the desert to run around that are open, or is it just desert when you're exploring?
There are, so the environments that I've been into, the city, which you may have seen, the destroyed city area.
Yeah.
There's a robot village, which you briefly saw, and it's really only one zone. And I found a robot amusement park, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an amusement park full of robots that are doing typical amusement park employee jobs with roller coasters and Ferris wheels and et cetera, et cetera.
Are there robots that are not employees? Are they like having fun?
They were not present at the time, so the park might have been closed to visitors.
So it was a desolate amusement park full of robots
Oh,
with
the entire
working
place is
jobs with
desolate. Yeah.
no one there. Okay. Yeah, I like when games feel like they have life in them. Um, One of the reasons, and I don't remember if I talked about this before, but when I was playing Ghost of Yotei, I probably didn't mention it much on here, but one of my issues with Ghost of Yotei was that I heard people saying it feels so lived in, it feels lived in, and I'm like, I don't think it feels lived in at all. I think it kind of feels desolate. I'm usually wandering alone across a plain, and the most I run into is a pack of Saito soldiers, or like occasionally I see a group of Ainu merchants wandering through. It's like, and there's not a lot of settlement life, and I get that there's like a war going on, but it just felt kind of desolate, and it feels like it. I don't like feeling that way in games. I like having the feeling of there's a lot of life and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean that's the setting for
And
Nier.
I know.
So it's it's less a failure of creativity than it is an intentional decision.
No, I don't want to make it sound like I'm blaming that or Yote for it. I recognize the creative decision, the choice in that. I think of something like um like Horizon. Horizon is kind of desolate in a way, but it's teeming with machine
Mhm.
life and wildlife and things. And you know, the most you ever see in like a Yote, which is another Sony game, Sony studio, is you get the occasional person walking around or a little group of people, or you get like some birds. Like there's not a ton of wildlife. There's no machines running around like Horizon. Or you think of something like I'm playing Trails still. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Trails is just full of monsters. Everywhere you look, there's a monster on the pathway, and that leads to its own sort of dissonance because they're like, oh, you just came through that way. I'm just going that way right now. I'm like, there were a ton of monsters where I just came through. You're just gonna walk along the path. It's like, yeah, like okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, more to come on Nier. I'll be playing it probably this Thursday is Christmas, so probably not Thursday, but you never know. Depends on how much I have to drink at lunch, I guess.
How many
Um,
streams do you think it'll take to finish?
oh gosh, I don't even know. I have no idea how long the game is. All I know is I have to replay it multiple times, so no clue. Can't even
You're gonna need to
conjecture.
start doing marathon streams. 2 hours is not gonna be enough.
It may not be enough. We'll have to see. Next game I'm playing because I'd like to move on is I'm playing Divinity Original Sin, the enhanced edition, because I do want to be ready for when the next Divinity comes out, and I've got Divinity Original Sin in my library, and I thought I'd give it a shot because I did like Baldur's Gate. I'm a couple hours in. I haven't done too much. It's I should have known this when I started it. One of the things that I do, especially with older games, is I check to see what kind of mods are out there to enhance the gameplay.
Hmm.
I grabbed one that enhances the graphics. I grabbed one that makes rare items stand out more so they're harder to miss on the map. I try not to get ones that break gameplay. And then one that I saw that I grabbed or I tried to grab was one that made walking speed faster. And it required another mod from another site, and that site no longer exists. So unfortunately, I was not able to install the walking speed mod, and I really wish that I had that because the walking speed in Divinity Original Sin is so slow. but it's very similar to Baldur's Gate 3. Um,
You couldn't find a mirror. There was no mirror.
no, I had at least not one that was from where the original mod would have pointed me. I didn't search much on it. I may because it is slow. But yeah, the game is it's very if you know Baldur's Gate 3, you will know this game. It's obviously not the same system because it's not Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
It's Larian's original setting, original character design, and for the most part, classes. It's been hard so far. I got through the prologue without any trouble at all. I got to the first town, and then I ventured outside of the first town, fought one set of monsters, beat them pretty badly, and then the next place down the road were so many monsters that they just decimated me. So maybe it's Byron, don't go there yet. I don't know. I'll have to play more and give more thoughts. But yeah, if you like Baldur's Gate, you'll like Divinity.
I have every intention of playing Divinity. I'm obviously not at my home PC right now, but I think I have 1 and 2 downloaded and installed already. Or I've had Divinity Original Sin on my list to play for a very long time. So I am glad to hear you're playing it and enjoying it, and that it still feels good to play despite its age, because it's a 2012 game or 2013 game. It's an older one. I know
No
Divinity
clue.
Original Sin 2 is 2017.
It looks nice.
Yeah. But I'm not worried about the looks on it. It's a CRPG. Those always have interesting appearances. I'm more thinking of, like, how does it feel to play? Is it antiquated?
No,
But
it's
it
just
sounds like it's
slow.
not.
No, it's fine. It's just slow, and yeah, when you're traveling, I won't say that that's not a burden.
How's the writing? How's the storytelling?
It's fine so far. You're there as a source hunter, and I'm not exactly sure what a source hunter is. Um, the first thing you do is have to investigate a murder in the first town after you get past the prologue, obviously, and that starts the main storyline, which I'm not going to get into here. But it's decent enough so far. Is it the best I've ever seen? No, it's not. But it's pretty good.
What are you playing? What's your class? What's your race? What are you?
You start off with two characters, and I have this problem where I choose your character class poorly based on what the game is going to give you immediately. So I said to myself, it would be super smart if your first two characters were some sort of fighter class and some sort of mage class, because that gives you somebody to absorb the hits and somebody to lay out the magic hits. So that's what I did. I
Yeah.
created a knight and a sorcerer, maybe. And when I used that to get to the first prologue dungeon, no problem. Got into town. The first party member I grabbed was a knight. Cool. So I now have two knights, and then I got a ranger. So my party right now what is knight, ranger, sorcerer, and I was really hoping to pick up a rogue because that's what I'd like to play. But rogues are typically an ancillary party member and not a primary defensive character, not a primary offensive character, just somebody who fits in the roles and does all the things that the party needs done outside of combat. Depending on the game, they can be a primary DPS, but not always.
So you make two characters in the character creator.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is the main character? Do you pick one to be the
Yes.
main character?
Nope. Any character can be the main character. You can lead the conversations with any character. And actually, this is kind of a cool thing about the way the game is designed. Your characters grow depending on the answers that you give. Like you may have, for example, you talk to an NPC and the NPC says, "Do you like hamburgers?" And with one character say, "Yes, I love hamburgers. Hamburgers are the best thing ever." And that character gets like a +1 in might, something like that. And the other character says, "Oh, I will not eat meat." And you can choose what they say. And the second character might get a +1 to pacifism. And that's going to affect my characters in some way, shape, or form. It's happened a couple times now.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like it. I may spend some more time looking for the fast travel or the traveling faster.
Who is the source hunter then? If there's no main characters, is one character the source hunter, or?
No, they're both source hunters. They're both there together. They're partners. So yeah, think of it as like
Okay.
cops who are on a mission. I can't remember their names, but the ones from SVU everybody loves. So think of it like that. They're both the main characters, Marissa
I see.
Hargitay and the other guy. But yeah, and then the first character that I picked up the other night is also a source hunter. Hey, you're another source hunter in town. You should join us. Okay, why not?
Got it. So when I play the game, don't make a knight.
Don't make a knight. Well,
How,
you could, or there's a fighter class you could. Is it a
I was gonna
fighter? Or
say,
is it a
so tell me about
paladin?
the classes. How many classes are there? Tell me about the class systems. What are the options?
I mean,
Are there
it's
stats and skills?
yeah. I mean, there's nothing special here. It's D&D esque. Um, I haven't played enough to be able to talk about all the min maxing of the stats, but it's typical type strength, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and each one has a different ability factor on your ability to do damage, cast spells, take hits, etc., etc.
Do you know how many
Um,
classes there are? Because I mean,
I
Baldur's Gate
there's
3 has a ton.
yeah there I don't remember all of them, but I want to say there's like a knight and there's a fighter, and the knight is more of like a group combat inspiring. So like think of like a general type character where they can inspire the
Yeah.
other characters, but also somebody who can dish out and take damages. And then there's a fighter who's more just a damage dealer. I'm going purely off of memory. There's a rogue, maybe a bard, and two kinds of spellcasters, like a wizard and a sorcerer. Maybe I'd have to go back and review. I just remember the ones that I picked out because they seem like the best ones, and I'm sure that there's a
Hmm.
cleric in there as well.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's very D&D esque, like you said, D&D adjacent. I know that one of the things that Larian is looking forward to from what they've said publicly is going back into a system that's designed for games because it's a game system first instead of trying to translate the D&D tabletop into the game system. I know that was very limiting and difficult for them. So I am excited to see where Divinity, the new one, goes, and to hear more about your journeys through Original Sin, and if you find that enhanced walking speed mod.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. Just like all fantasy is based off Tolkien, all role playing games are based off Dungeons and Dragons. You can't escape it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll move on to the last game that I'm playing, which is a new game of I guess of maybe a month old, is Ball X Pit or Ball Times Pit. I don't know. There's no official
it's just ball pit.
pronunciation.
It's just called ball pit.
Well, there's an X in between them. So, but yeah,
I know, but it's just called ball pit.
Ball Pit, and it's a rogue like game that's somewhat like a Vampire Survivors in some degree of Fire and Forget. It's also like an Arkanoid or Breakout game because you're launching balls. There's a Japanese game, is it Pachinko, where you launch
Yeah,
balls and destroy things?
yeah,
And essentially, it's a you go down corridors. The corridors have monsters that come down in blocks, and they create rows. And you have different characters who launch balls, and there are special kinds of balls, and there are baby balls. Don't demonetize me, YouTube. And you pick up power ups and you develop new kinds of balls and you fuse balls. So, for instance, one character starts with fireballs, and fireballs put burn on the monsters. And you can pick up steel balls that are heavy duty and they hit and do more damage. And you can combine them when you level them up all the way to create bomb balls. And when they hit bad guys, they explode, dealing AoE damage. Um, and in between levels there's a town, and in the town you can harvest resources. So there's wheat, there's wood, there's stone, and there's gold, and you can harvest all of those, and from that you can build buildings. And the buildings are what enable you to get new characters. You have to find the blueprints to build the buildings, and when you find a new character's building you build it, and then you have to bounce. It's a long thing. You have to bounce your harvesting characters off of it to actually build it. But then you get the new character and you can play with them in the same stages. And you can build other buildings, ones that increase your stats. So there's stat scaling, there's flat stat rate. So you have strength, intelligence, leadership, and constitution, maybe. So strength is the amount of damage you do. Intelligence is the AoE damage that your AoE abilities do. Leadership is the number of baby balls that your character creates, the max number that can be on the screen at a time. Endurance is the number of hit points you have, and there's also speed. So the speed that your character moves on the board and the speed that the balls go. Higher that, obviously, the balls go faster across the screen. And you have buildings that give you ability or the flat rate to all of those, and you have ones that give you scaling. So starting off, you may be a D in strength, and then you can upgrade that building and go to a C in strength, and so you get more per point that's invested in your character, and that's automatic. You don't do that yourself, but it's a lot of fun. It's addicting. I always like to have a game that I'm playing in depth that may take a couple hours to play for a period, and then a game that I can pick up, play 15 minutes, put it down, and feel like I've done something. And this is that kind of game. It may take 10 minutes to run through a stage, less if you fail, and then another 5 minutes to develop your town a little bit between each level. It's a lot of fun. It's on sale right now on Steam for $11. It is an ace pickup at that price. If you like those kinds of games, if you don't like roguelike games but do like Arkanoid type games, it's a lot of fun with that. It's not as mindless as a Vampire Survivors. I'm a big Vampire Survivor fan. I love it. I love the dopamine hit of that. You get that in this game. There's a little more strategy because you have to move and you also have to aim your weapon. You have to worry about the physics and bouncing it off. And yeah, and so there are bosses and monsters with shields, and so sometimes you have to bounce it off the sides to hit the boss.
You can't turn backwards.
You cannot turn backwards. You can move up and back down, but you're limited by the bottom, and the game is always scrolling forward.
Right, and there's no shooting behind you.
You can't go all 180 degrees, so I don't know, maybe like 170 here and 10 over here. So that's your field of shooting. And the characters are good. They're not just cookie cutters with a different skin. You start off with the knight. The knight he shoots balls. That's what the knight does. No benefit, no negative. You get a gunslinger, and the gunslinger fires more baby balls, but his aim is not perfect. So instead of aiming like this, your aim is like this. It may go a little more skew. And then you get other characters. There's one that does double main balls, so the special balls you have, but has no baby balls. And that character is called the empty nester. It's somebody whose kids have all gone, so no more baby balls, just the main balls. You've got twins that shoot double balls, but each one is half, and that's a challenge because before you have your one character here, and you have to dodge the balls coming in, and now you've got two characters, and so they each have to dodge the daggone balls or let them go in between, which is another stress point. The one that I've enjoyed the most so far, which is tough for fighting random monsters in the game, but a boss incinerator, is the assassin. And the assassin launches balls from the top, not the bottom. So they come from the top of the screen, which is great because the boss starts at the top of the screen, and you can just focus fire directly on the boss and destroy it. But the problem is with just the random monsters that show up is a lot of times your balls get trapped at the upper level where all the monsters are, and the ones that are at the bottom are still coming towards you, and you have zero ability to focus on those guys with your balls all trapped up at the top. So it requires some thinking, but a very good game, a very good pickup at $11. I recommend it highly.
Good. I see you have one other game. You said that was your last one, but you have another game written here.
Near Ball Pit, Divinity Original Sin.
Yeah, I show you have Absalom on here.
I did add that. So I haven't played that much. A friend of mine, a friend of the show, MG, sent me that for Christmas, and I've only played like maybe 20 minutes of it. I intend to play with him. It's a modern day side-scrolling beat 'em up that is somewhat like a Golden Axe, also somewhat like a Dungeons and Dragons Shadows over Mistra, which is a game that I loved back in the day. I loved it on arcade. I loved it on Sega Saturn, and I actually have it from Steam now. It's roguelike. It's side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's somewhat of an RPG. More to come as I've played like 20 minutes of it now. It's single player. It's multiplayer. I'm looking forward to playing with him. So far, it's a lot of fun. You have two characters to start up with. I assume you're going to get more. You can choose between a kind of elfish fighter class who swings a sword and casts some magic, and a dwarf who I think has a big axe. I haven't played as a dwarf yet. But yeah, more to come.
It's a roguelike too, isn't it?
Yeah, I said that. It's
roguelike.
Yeah, I've like I said, I've played it once, so I don't have a lot of feedback on how you increase your character between levels. But I love roguelike games. I don't always love beat 'em ups. Like I was okay in like a Final Fight type game. I did like the TMNT game, Simpsons game, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I can't say that I wasn't a beat 'em up fan. I liked the ones that had a little more complexity. So I guess I did play the X-Men one a lot. I like ones that I can play with people more than playing by myself. If I'm going to play by myself, I want there to be some sort of choices involved, like a Shadows over Mistra and whatever its follow up was. Those are good games to me because you have pathway choices. You have the ability to pick up different weapons and magic spells. So hopefully this isn't like that. It seems a lot of fun so far, and I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Do you play Assassin's Creed? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't all of them. You play all the Assassin's Creeds?
I never played the side ones much.
Okay.
I did not play. I got maybe an hour or two into the British one, which is Assassin's Creed with bowler hats, I think. And
Syndicate, yeah.
I never got pulled into that one much. And for whatever reason, I never played Origins. And I've got Origins and I need to play it because people say Origins may be the best one.
It's up there. I have a list of the best ones. It's definitely in the top half for sure. I ask because there's a lot of side scrolling, like you said, the side games are like side scrollers. Talking about that, but also Assassin's Creed Valhalla added a roguelike mode. I don't know
It
if
was
you ever.
okay. I've started it and I determined that I don't love 3D roguelikes. I like 2D roguelikes.
I see, I
Take that
see.
for what it's worth. I did play it maybe a couple hours of that, and I was like, eh. And I played all the way through Valhalla. I enjoyed Valhalla, just not as Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I actually did finish the roguelike element of that just because I I platinumed the game in 2020 when it came out, and then I didn't touch it until they finished releasing content for it. And then I did all of the content for it in a row, and including the stupid challenge dungeons that they added in that were horrible, and including the stupid roguelike mode, which was annoying because I'm not a roguelike fan. It was actually not that bad. It was not as bad as I was expecting it to be. Um, but I just also am a huge Assassin's Creed fan, and the combat in Valhalla feels pretty good in terms of overall combat vibes versus the stealth vibes in Valhalla, which are terrible. And it's not really a stealthy thing, the roguelike, so it wasn't a
yeah,
big deal. But I just figured I'd ask because I that's one roguelike that I can say I've played and finished was that extra content there.
yeah. That's a good discussion point for me to stop. How about you? What are you playing?
Yeah, my week has been dominated by Trails in the Sky first chapter. I have done my normal Genshin and my normal Where Winds Meet playing, a little bit a day, maybe an hour and a half or so of each, depending on what I'm doing, but or what I feel. But yeah, Trails in the Sky first chapter has man, it has me hooked. I am so in on this world and these characters. They're so charming and so lively, and it's bright and it's colorful, and it's the kind of world, at least at this point. I know, the story gets crazier, but I'd be like, it'd be cool to live in this world. Everything looks pretty nice and
Incestuous.
cozy. Well, not quite incestuous yet, but yeah, I did. Okay, so for the audience here, you're playing as Estelle and Joshua and their step siblings. And I finished the last time I was on the show, I had finished the first chapter, I think, and I was just starting the second chapter of the game. And that second chapter, I am now almost entirely convinced that it was designed entirely just to get the main character, Estelle, to realize that she is actually in love with her stepbrother, Joshua. And I'm almost certain that that's the case because without spoiling the plot line of this game, you go to an academy. There's a 3 to 5 hour, depending on how quickly you move through, school section of this game because, of course, there's a school section of this JRPG, and you are putting on a play, and things happen, and it ends with Estelle more or less getting very jealous over her stepbrother. And I don't know. It's
It's
so
a weird
weird.
game.
It's so weird, but I love it. Oh my goodness, Byron, I love it because that's not what the game is about. I want to make it clear. The game itself is not about that. It's just an undertone throughout the game because the actual game is about these two 16-year-olds becoming bracers and going through an adventure in the world to become senior bracers. Like they're junior bracers and they want to become senior bracers. Bracers are like the official government sanctioned mercenary guild essentially is the best way to think about it, and they take on odd jobs and requests from the community, and they spend their days doing these quests, and then they level up their rank in the bracer guild, and they get rewards and they get stronger as you progress and all that. And their goal at the moment is to go, you have to get a letter of recommendation from each of the guilds around the nation to have your status enhanced to senior bracer, which means you can work for any guild at any time. You just wander around, and I imagine by the end of the game we're going to be senior bracers. That's the only logical conclusion I can think of. But it's like that is the game. There's an undertone of the stuff I was talking about, and then there's like a mystery going on related to your father and some other cool things. It's a really fascinating story to start with. And the funny thing about it, Byron, I actually I don't remember where I was when we talked about this. I might have been at the start of chapter 2. I might have been finishing chapter 1, but the thing that I thought was going to be like the driving mystery of the game is resolved at the end of the first chapter, and it's just like a hint of the rest of the game, where like half of it is completely resolved, and I thought it was all going to be the mystery, and then it's like, no, the that mystery is done. You solved that problem. Now you're moving on to the next city, and I was like, oh, okay, but I so we're done with that. But no, like the rest, it's just a hint of the overall mystery of it. I thought that it was going to be the whole thing because I knew that this was a simpler game in the franchise, but it's not. It's just this is just one part, and then you get to the next part of the game, and it's like, here's the next mystery, and now I'm sure I'm gonna have a new mystery coming up, and there's an underlying theme of their father's involvement in this world that is ever present as you progress through the story, and that is the through line so far. But what his involvement is, and what their father is up to is really a key thing that seems to be following the whole time. I don't know if I'll run into him in this chapter and find out, or and then we go into the conclusion or how it's going to work. But yeah, the I thought that this one big thing that happens was going to be the mystery of the game, and it wasn't. It was just the mystery of the region. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. um they're short segments. Like each chapter is really very well self-contained. Like if I wanted to stop at the end of chapter 2, I could stop at the end of chapter 2 and then go and play another game because it's a very good natural stopping point if I wanted to pick up a different game for a little bit.
So true chapters.
Yeah, true chapters. Yeah, very, very true chapters. It's each new chapter kind of closes the loop on the last chapter in terms of you end you're when you finish a chapter, you're still in the city that you did that chapter in, and then the next chapter starts, and then it's like, all right, now I'm leaving the city. Bye everybody, bye, and then I go off into the new city. So like you're good. Like you have resolved the mystery by the end of the chapter, which is a good story design structure, I have to say.
Yeah, makes it easy to pick up and put down. The other thing that I like in some games, and I don't know if this game is like that, but whenever you start a save back, it gives you while you're loading the game. Here are highlights of where you were in the game when you last played. I can't remember the last game that I played that did that, but it's become somewhat more common, and I love that. I don't know if Trails does that, but that's a big help for whenever you put down a game for a extended period of time and pick it back up.
It doesn't do that, but you have a quest log that tells you everything you could need to know about what's happened in the world that you just R1 and circle, and it's everything you need about your past journey and adventures in there. Very easily accessible with adequate summaries. The most notorious, not notorious, I guess, the best game at that I can think of that what you're describing is The Witcher 3, where every time you load up the game, you hear a voice give a little voiceover of what happened. And I remember I was at this one part in The Witcher 3 for so long. I have that voice saying, Kira Metz just like burned into my brain because I had like the Kira Metz main story quest for so long while I was exploring doing other things. I'm not sure what other games have done it recently though. If you think of any, let me know because I can't think of
Yeah, I'd
any off
have
the
to
top of my
think.
head.
Well,
But
anything
yeah,
else
I
about Trails before we move on?
no, I just wanted to say I'm really loving this game and Trails adjacent related, they have officially revealed Trails in the Sky second chapter, the
Who would have
remake of the
thought?
second game. I mean, there were people saying that they were just going to remake this first game. They're not going to remake the second one. I heard some people saying that, and then I heard other people say that's ridiculous. But I was hopeful that they were going to remake all of it. I am so glad I jumped on this train right now. It's scheduled to come out in fall of next year. So I want to get this done and then I'll be ready to go when it comes out next year. And I'm pumped. If this game stays on the trajectory that it's on, it's definitely gonna be one of my favorite games this year. This series, depending on how the series progresses, it has the potential to become one of my favorite series for sure because of how invested I'm getting in these characters and how quirky and charming they are. Like, for example, Estelle is kind of like a Stephanie Tanner. How rude. She literally says how rude uh like a dozen times so far in this game because people are always like making fun of her because she's like an airhead in a lot of ways and she's like that doesn't want to study, doesn't focus, isn't really paying attention, kind of reckless, kind of kind of character. And they tease her about that and that's cute in her reaction there. And then or someone will say something really weird, and she'll go, "What?" But it's not that ridiculous. It's not that ridiculous in how she does it.
But it wouldn't
It's
surprise me.
great. It's great, man. It's so
Well,
good. You got to play it. You got to
I
play
I
this game.
don't got to play it, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
Uh,
All right, let's move on. We got a few things to talk about in the wildcard segment. The first is kind of short. Kotaku released a list of sale RPGs that people should give a shot to, and I was curious if you saw anything on the list that really caught your attention that people should play if they haven't played. I'll open it up to you first.
yeah, I mean the first one is obviously Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That's on sale for 50% off right now. The regular edition is $30 and the Royal edition with the DLC is $40. So obviously that's the big one for me. But what about you out of that list is the big one for you?
For me, it's Final Fantasy 12. I own multiple copies of it. The original one, the Zodiac edition, which is the remake of it with the enhanced job system. I love Final Fantasy 12. I love, is it Vanadiel? I'm going to pronounce it wrong. The setting for that, which is also the setting for Tactics. I think that it's a great place. The characters I like if you know the backstory about it. Vaughn was not supposed to be the main character of it, but it was pushed by maybe Sony because they wanted a more youthful audience for it. So Square was forced to make Vaughn and Pinello main character esque. And one of the little hidden gems of it is I think the true main characters, which are Ash and Balthier, they're talking about adult things, which is essentially the kingdoms fighting each other and the palace intrigue that's involved in it. And in the background, you see Vaughn and Penelope bickering like small children, which is what they are. They're teenagers, and it's just a nice little Easter egg if you know about the history of the game. But I love the game. I love if you're going to do an active game to only have to be concerned about your main character that you choose, but also have somewhat control of the background characters. This is the game that added the Gambit system, which is a programmable ability set for your sub character. So the characters that you're not controlling. And it is so detailed. You can say, if characters go under 20% hit points, cast a cure spell on them. If monsters are oiled, use a fire spell on them. If nothing is happening, then apply a stack of poison or just attack from range or whatever. It's a great game. It doesn't get the accolades that it deserves, probably because the leveling system was complex. They fixed a lot of it when they did, I think it's called the Zodiac system.
Zodiac Age.
Yeah, but it's such a good game. It's the graphics still hold up. The story is very good. It has the palace intrigue of a Final Fantasy Tactics type game because it's the same world. Overall, it's one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. You can get it for cheap now. It's available on PC. It's available on PlayStation. It may be available on Switch or Xbox now. I don't know, but I love Final Fantasy 12.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't have any experience with 12, unfortunately. I know that it's supposed to be pretty good in the grand scheme of Final Fantasies, especially amongst the modern, the quasi-modern. It's not super modern anymore, but it's among the better of the modern games, along with like the 10 people of 10 and 10-2. I know it's like in that same era of time. I would like to play it at some point in time. I don't know when, but uh, speaking of that system that you were talking about, the Gambit system, I want to ask you, what do you think the first game that I ever played that had a system like that was? Knowing me, what do you think the first one I played?
I don't know of another game that has a system like that off the top of my head, so I don't have a guess, but I'll say EverQuest. Why not?
No, I've never played EverQuest. Actually, Dragon Age Origins
Oh,
has
yeah.
they call it the tactics system. It is their tactics thing, but it has the same level of depth that you were describing. I don't know if it goes as deep as if enemy is oiled to set them on fire, because I don't think that's not a system in the game is like fire, turning people on fire. But that that whole, focus on using these abilities. If you hit this level health, use this ability on yourself, use this particular potion, use this item on this character, like that all is in Origins, and it is extremely deep tactical commands, because it has that you can control one party member, but you can control all the party members if you want to system. But if you're not controlling all the party members and you just want to play your main character, you can have them do these very specific commands to have them play exactly the way that you want to. So yeah, that's the first game I ever played that has a system at least similar, if not exactly the same as what you're describing. Um, I just would like to try more Final Fantasies if they remake them. I'd like a remake of all these games.
Six needs a remake. I would love a six remake. Six is the best Final Fantasy game. There's no argument allowed. Six is one of the best role playing games ever made.
I know people say that, and I would love to see it not in a pixel form. I think it'd be great in a real 3D environment, as most games should be.
Eh.
But yeah, from that list of Kotaku games, I didn't have anything else that I was really familiar with on there. I know that the Pixel remasters were on there. They're supposed to be on sale for Final Fantasy and things like that. But
Yeah, I mean, the original Final Fantasy is still a great game. I played it recently because it came out on Apple Arcade. It was my wake up in the middle of the night, play a little bit type game. I still love Final Fantasy 1. It's a lot of fun.
let's roll back a second. What's a wake up in the middle of the night and play a little bit game?
I
What
wake
does
up
that mean?
I wake up every night, almost every night, somewhere between 2 and 4 o'clock, and I'm up for about an hour before I fall back asleep. So I'll watch YouTube videos, I'll scroll on my iPad, I'll get sleepy, and then I'll fall back asleep
Why?
because I'm midlife, I guess. I don't know. There's a whole lot involved with this that is outside of the discussion for this show, but I'm sure there's a lot of reasons we can talk about outside of the show.
All right. Anyway, that was news to me. I didn't know that
Oh
one
yeah, every
before.
night. Yeah. So
Interesting.
next topic, you've got some viewer feedback.
I do, yes. So, uh, friend of the show and regular listener of the show, Koala, left me some feedback about his stance on remakes and remasters for price value, and he actually posed some questions for you, Byron, because he seemed to be more in my camp on this topic. So, uh, his stance was, if you're building the game from the ground up but using the old story is upsetting for you, uh, does a game like the Yakuza franchise do it better in that most of the assets are actually reused, but the story is different?
I don't care a ton about Yakuza. I would like there to be
It's
some
just an
variation.
example.
I would like there to be some variation. There's in older RPGs, there's a lot of reused assets because of the size of cartridges to bridge two stories. You didn't have the ability to have a lot of different or a lot of different monsters, so they would change the color palette of it because that's cheap to do. Cheap from a data storage point, not a budget money standpoint. I have more of a problem with them just redoing games instead of making new games. It's a creativity and a offering to the community and for sales, I guess, point of view. If you want to reuse assets and people are okay with it, whatever. I mean, that's one of the benefits of being a studio is that you've got a library of assets. You don't have to remake Key every time you make a game because you have that stored. If people enjoy that in Yakuza, go for it.
Well, I guess the question he's asking is, what is in your mind the difference between a remake of a game like Trails, where the story may be the same, but the entire base of the assets, the combat, all of that is completely redone. That is not at all the same. The only thing that is carried over is the story, and they even added voice acting. That's new. Versus something like a Yakuza game where Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 are all of those games. I mean, every Yakuza game has Kamurocho in it. Some of them are set in Kamurocho exclusively. Some of them are go to other cities, but they all have Kamurocho in it. So the only thing different there is the story, but the combat animations are reused. Sometimes the fighting styles are reused. The city setting itself is reused. So what is the difference between those two things in your mind?
It sounds to me like they're similar concepts executed in different ways.
I would
Um,
agree with
I
that.
I prefer to have a game that is a new concept and has somewhat new assets. Like I said, I don't mind if they reuse assets. Am I going to be heartbroken if Key is reused from one game to another game? No, I'm not. Would I prefer there to be new combat animations? Reuse some, I don't care, but I would prefer there to be new stuff. Do I look forward to a game that is a different story but essentially the same game multiple times in a period? That's not my cup of tea. And depending on the remake, I mean, if people want to love Trails, good for them. I don't have a dog in that fight, but I do like when there are new games and new concepts. Would I prefer to have a new Final Fantasy from the ground up than I would a re-release of 12? Yeah, I would. If they can remake something and breathe a little more life into it and not affect the ability to have new games come out, I would be for that as well. But like, I don't want, because it's near and dear to my heart, I don't want them to delay the next Final Fantasy because, hey, we want to pump out a new pixel remaster. That's at least in Square's place. That's a lot of times a money grubbing thing. They just want to get a hold of as much money cheaply as possible, and you can see that by the price they charge for their remasters and their re-releases, and the fact that they rarely go on sale.
Yeah, I mean, I think of something like Remake to Rebirth. Those are games that are obviously they add a ton of stuff in Rebirth, but the foundation of the combat for the main characters is exactly the same. Like, yeah, Cloud can is a little bit more airborne and air capable in Rebirth, but it feels more or less the same to play when you're doing the combat in that game. Like that is not new. Like
But
that is redone,
that's
recycled.
somewhat different in my mind. As a whole, I have zero problems with the remake of Final Fantasy VII. That was a game that they said we made this 30 years ago, something like that. I don't know. Years blur out. And they said we want to remake it as a modern game, and they gave it the love and attention and desire it required to be a completely remake of a game. The story again, it's got the same rails, but everything else is built around that, and it's built differently. And I see Final Fantasy VII and remake and rebirth as being chapters in a story. So I don't have a problem with that. And if you see Yakuza as chapters in a story, cool. I don't have a problem with that. But that's what I'm looking for in a game. If they make if they remake Final Fantasy VIII and just take the entire system and animations and assets from Final Fantasy VII, I'll have something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, except for the fact that the Yakuza team, the RGG, for like 6 games forgot that the characters from the previous game existed, except for Kiryu, Haruka, and Date and Daigo. Yeah, except for the complete forgetting of characters, the it is just chapters in a story. Like it is all Kiryu's journey, and even when you get up to Ichiban, Kiryu still has involved in that journey.
Yeah.
So
When the
I
next
do view it as
question,
chapters. But yeah,
well,
those were his feedback. You know,
well, and
he
real
asked us.
quick, so he also brought up about Call of Duty and other
Yeah, I was gonna
yearly
say that.
games.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't played Call of Duty in a while because it got to be just so repetitive. And I feel the same way about like a Madden game, or it used to be NCAA football. I would buy it every third year because it was just too much of of hey, it's Malibu Stacy with the hat.
Yeah. No, I agree with the point on Call of Duty. I stopped playing Call of Duty a long time ago as well. But I think it is an interesting question because it boils down to what is more important, new story, new gameplay, or both. And it sounds to me like for you, you want both. You want
Yeah,
new things in both regards for games.
and like I said, there's time and place, and ultimately, I have my opinion, you have your opinion, and
Oh yeah.
the market will speak as to what the market wants. And if games like Trails do well, then they'll continue to do that. If Call of Duty continues to do well, they'll continue to do that. Obviously, Madden isn't hurting for money. We'll see what happens with their new Saudi
Call of Duty's hurting
overlords.
though.
Yeah, I think I've heard of problems with that, but Madden hasn't seemed to have any issues.
No.
There are
Yeah.
people who line up to get the new roster every year.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
I agree with you on it. But yeah, well, thank you, Koala, for your questions and your feedback. I appreciate you. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts on our conversation here. I hope that Byron has satisfactorily answered your inquisition. And audience, please give us your feedback. We're happy to take comments and questions and bring it into the show, just like this. If you have anything you want us to talk about or any curiosities, this is fun. It was nice to get some feedback from our listener, and he's as we record this, he's driving right now away for holidays to visit his family. So I hope you have a safe drive, my friend.
and then we have one more topic. You want to bring up the last one,
I I do, yeah. So one more wild card piece here, and this is a
which we
wild
hinted
card
at.
heavy section, yeah, which we hinted at. Let's chat about what we both believe the role of AI should be in the creation of video games. Now, it's still very early in AI's use and whatnot, of course, and our stances are subject to change, and we can change our minds, and things can happen. But I am curious where we both stand on AI in video games right now, given the news with Mr. Bink and Mr. Vavra. So Byron, I'm gonna throw it right to you. What do you think about using AI, generative AI, in game development?
I have no differing opinion on AI and AI in game design. My opinion is across the board, and that's an AI as a tool. It's a tool for people to use to enhance their abilities and to make themselves more effective and more productive. I think using AI as a complete replacement for something is a bad idea. There are people who joke about vibe programming, and vibe programming, in my mind, without having some sort of expertise, leads you to getting something done in a way that may not be the best way. It may allow for security vulnerabilities. It may allow for inefficiencies. I'm great with AI as an assistant in programming. Say, hey, can you help me with a procedure that does X? But I think that it needs to have human review. As a security person, I always want human review on something. I want competent human review. I just want somebody to look and say, cool, looks good. Um, if you want to use AI to upscale things, I think that's great. Do I want AI to completely replace your art department? No, I think that sucks because humans have souls and AI doesn't, and not from a spiritual perspective. I don't really care to have an argument about that one way or the other. I think that in what they create, humans put a little bit of themselves into it, and a lot of times give art life in one way, shape, or form that at this point, I don't know that AI does it. AI can do some cool stuff, and but I don't think it should be a replacement for humans. I think it should be a force multiplier for humans. And I'm against
The
Skynet, 100% against Skynet. So write that down. I'll be on the resistance if that happens. How about you?
you picked. I was gonna make a comment about Expedition, but I won't. I'll reserve it.
Game of the Year, Expedition, Runaway in every shape or form.
Well, I was gonna make a comment about the end of the game, but I don't want to spoil it for people who. But I'm sure you know what I was thinking when I bring that up. Yeah, my thoughts on AI are mixed in a lot of ways. I think there is value to AI in a tool. I've been using AI in my workflow for my company, mostly because it's been basically demanded of me that I find some way to use it. And I don't want to use it, but I use it because if I'm not using it, I'd probably lose my job. So at least I find some way to make use of it. Um, and I don't really care if anyone hears me say that because I'm doing what you asked me to do. So yeah. But yeah, I have concerns over AI use making people more efficient. That is actually very concerning to me because part of the reason new jobs open up is because you need more people. And if the people you already have are more efficient, it's just going to make new jobs less common. So I honestly don't think we're going to get to a point where AI is fully capable of replacing people from doing all the jobs out there. I think that human oversight is important to have, and I think that particularly in like my own field at least, it's going to be required um to have human oversight. I don't think that courts and the law is ever going to say, "Oh, this is allowable to, have AI do this
But they're
entirely." Like they're going to
trying.
always, well, they're always going to try, but I don't think that they're going to allow it. I don't think that the court is ever going to say, "Okay, AI is acceptable." Um, just like a monkey can't take a picture and have a copyright. You have to be a human to have a copyright in something. Like that's going to be a whole thing that's going to be litigated, I think. But so I don't think that all the jobs are necessarily doomed, but I fear for new jobs. We are already living in a society where entrenched people in jobs are, they don't leave. They don't leave their jobs most of the time unless they get a better opportunity. And even that doesn't happen very often. And when you have people being extra efficient, you go, oh, we don't need to hire that extra attorney. We don't need to hire that extra security guy because the AI is making our existing security people, our existing attorneys more efficient. And then that kind of sucks for the people coming up after. I mean, it's going to lead to a point where generationally, you're going to have a whole generation or two generations or even three generations of people where there's just no jobs for them until the people in the roles die. And then
But
no one's
that's
going to be qualified to take it over.
yeah, a lot of that's happening already. And I'll agree and disagree with you in some way, shape, or form. And I'll disagree first that I think when humans become more efficient, by and large, it opens us up to doing new things and trying new things. Whenever the whenever like horse and buggies went away and cars were created, it enabled us to branch in new locations and find new things to make our economy better. And I think that's possible with AI. When people are freed up, it gives them that ability. I think the place that it gets hurt, and we're seeing that right now, is not that people who are in jobs are having trouble finding jobs. The people who don't have experience, those are the jobs that are being taken
That's what
by
I'm talking
AI.
about.
The entry level
That's exact.
jobs are
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, that's exactly my concern is those entry level jobs, the simple tasks that, oh, I'm the attorney, I don't want to do that basic task because we can hire someone to learn and do it and grow. I'm going to do it with the help of the AI, and my job is secure because the AI can't do what I do. It can do these other things. We don't need to hire the new people to help us.
Yeah.
That's my concern is the entry level job. And I agree with you that horse and buggy to car and all that, you expand and create new opportunities, but the people who are in current fields or studying to enter current fields that are going to be impacted. Like, could you imagine I don't know, the guy who went to horse and buggy driving school and dedicated his life to learning how to drive a horse and buggy and to be a carriage coach. And now all of a sudden cars exist and he's put out of a job and he has no other skills because he learned how to be a carriage coach. Like, I feel bad for the individual on that level who's learning the soon to be obsolete job.
Yeah.
That is my concern.
Agreed. And I am not a blind capitalist. I will never be accused of that. I am 100% for government help in retraining people. The economy evolves, our use of resources evolves. We should and do have less of a need for coal. And I don't think those people are worthless. I don't think they should be thrown away. I think that we should give them the ability to adapt and move to new jobs. And I'm all for helping that out. And I think that the same thing applies here. I think that if the economy's changed and those entry level jobs are harder to come by, then there may be government solutions to helping people get trained to do new things. And I'm all for that.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
I
answer
don't,
is.
I don't know the answer either. I don't really trust the government to help people do anything, to be honest with you. They should, whether they should or not is a different question, whether they're capable of doing it though. you know, um, it'd be wonderful if we had a competent enough, you know, system of government, and I don't just mean our particular administration, I just mean our government in general, is not always great at doing the things that you think it would be great at doing because it has so much power, unfortunately. And I would love it if we could help train the coal miners and help train the law students who became lawyers and there are no law jobs available, like that would be, I fear for those people. And to bring it into the video game realm, I fear for the concept artist who is not going to get their shot at the simple concept job, or the QA tester who is no longer needed because the AI is doing the QA testing. And how many storied game developers got their start in QA? Like that's those entry level baseline jobs. And when it comes to using the AI itself in the creation of the video games, let's bring it into that instead of a general conversation on AI. I agree with you that there is a level of the person that creates it that goes into a game, but I don't. Okay, if we remove the fear of jobs for people, if we're not talking about the fear of jobs for people and how it impacts society on the whole, I actually don't really care how much AI is involved in the creation of something creative. I have a societal fear and don't want people to be harmed. But if the AI can make something cool, then it's pretty cool that it can make something cool on my end. And it should always have the human touch on it to fix it and finalize it. But I actually don't really have a problem with AI making the cool thing, which I think is a stance I only just realized I had right now.
And yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say that there is no skill involved in telling AI what to do and having it do it correctly and in a novel way. There are people who've always done mathematical art, and that's something. Fractals are pretty freaking cool. Is that person the same as Renoir? Not gaming related Renoir? No, but that doesn't mean there's not a place. Is there a place for an AI art exhibition? I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that again, you have to, it's so hard to separate the societal impact of this conversation. But if you do separate the societal impact from the conversation of use of AI, just for the thought exercise of it, it's very cool. It's very cool to think, what can people do? What can they structure? What can they command the AI to do? How smart can you make it? How uh, creative can you make an AI to, with a prompt to make it design something for you? I think that is extremely interesting and would love to see what that looks like. I just fear for the people on the other side. We one of my podcasts that I do listen to regularly is the Season Gaming Bitcast. I write for Season Gaming. I talk about them, and I am a fan of the show. I've guested on the show a couple of times now. Hopefully, we'll have some of them come over here as guests on our show in the future once we're in the new year and we start bringing on some guests and figure out how we want to approach that. But I I like that show, and one thing they do every week is a community member, Against the Tide is her name. She does an AI art drawing every week for the show of the three members of the show, and it's just some sort of cute themed image around whatever their presumed topic is going to be of the week. And it's always extremely amusing to look at. It's not always super well done art. Sometimes it looks horrifying because it's the AI that's doing it. But Tide is extremely talented at making these prompts and getting the AI to make these cute, fun, cool images. And it's become a tradition, a part of the show for the last like 2 years or so since it's been available. And I think that's a fun use of this kind of tool, because it's just people playing around, and no one is being harmed by it at that point. The Tide was not going to go and hire someone to
Well,
make an art for the show, and they weren't going to hire someone to do it every week. It's just cute.
nobody directly is being harmed, but I do want to point out there are environmental um, consequences of AI. If you look at some of
Sure.
the data centers, there are market issues with AI. If you've tried to buy memory or SSD storage, NVMe, whatever you want to say, um, that has skyrocketed, and
Yeah.
all of these data centers are eating a lot of electricity, eating a lot of resources, and some of them are probably having negative impacts on the environment.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I
there's It's not harmless, but it is fun. Some of your coworkers and I used to do AI images for fun whenever Copilot first came out, and we found out that if you asked Copilot to draw you a breakfast cereal, like half the time they would throw limes in the breakfast cereal for some reason.
Yeah, to be clear, when I said no one was harmed, I meant that no individual lost a job
Directly.
because, yeah,
Yeah.
directly because someone made a fun AI image of a podcast they enjoy listening to, like that sort of thing. And those are fun uses of it. But you're right, there are definitely environmental concerns and cost concerns and things like that. And hey, you know what, maybe we'll get something good out of AI. Maybe the drive for AI and the ridiculous energy costs that it's going to increase on people will finally lead us to invest in proper clean nuclear power, right? That'd be good.
Yep. I'm for nuclear. I'm for wind. I'm for hydroelectric. I'm for whatever gets the job done cleanly
Yeah,
and safely.
right. I agree. But that's exactly my point, is that maybe we'll finally get people over that hump. It's like you can't because the AI is costing so much money to run in terms of the electricity and the raising of the costs. Like there has to be a solution. People can't just keep paying increased electricity prices. You can't do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna bankrupt you. It's ridiculous how expensive it's all gotten.
Well,
Um, and then obviously environmental changes, climate changes, and things like that. Heating up. I mean, Florida, it's beautiful right now out here, but in the summer, I guarantee I'm gonna have that air conditioner cranking, and it's gonna be necessary to survive. And I'm sure for you too, it gets hot in North Carolina.
yep.
So,
Oh,
but
anything
that's
else?
yeah,
I think that's a good stopping point on this topic.
yeah, I'm good. I think that's a good conversation. I definitely had some revelations about my own stances on AI here, so I think that it was a beneficial topic to chat about, and
It's a
I
new
hope that you,
topic, and if your
yeah.
opinion isn't changing, then you probably need to re-examine yourself because it's new and it's evolving.
It is. It's constantly changing. They're always adding new features and improving and enhancing. Uh, I I like the AI tools for certain things. I will say one last thing is that I don't like using AI for writing things. I feel like it comes off robotic when people use AI to like write things. You can tell when it's written by AI, especially if you know a person. If you're like, wait a second, I know you. You don't sound like this when you talk. It's so you know it's like some sort of there was something going on there that doesn't quite sound natural.
So let's talk off camera about that. I have some off-show opinions that we can talk about.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
But
So
no, that's it. I'm good on the AI topic. Thank you for indulging me in this conversation. I know I just brought
yeah,
it up last minute as a thing. So,
I mean, I use
and
it every day at
thank you to
work.
the
So
audience for listening.
yeah, and yeah. So let's go to our upcoming games. It's the week before week of Christmas. There's not a lot released.
Christmas is in 5 days from from when we're recording. 5 days.
It is. It's in 5 days. So get your holiday shopping done. So yeah, there's not any upcoming games that I can find, but annual games done quick has been announced for. It's been announced before, but just as a reminder, it's coming up January 4th through 10th. If you've never seen games done quick, it's a lot of fun. People speed run games and take donations for charities. They do fun kinds of stuff with that. They try new things. They try to get world records. It's just a fun catch or fun watch. I think it's on Twitch, YouTube, so check it out. I'll try to put a link in the show notes if I can.
Yeah, AGDQ, awesome games done quick.
Awesome games. Yep.
People. I don't watch personally, but I know a lot of people who do. So
Yep. So want to do promos?
absolutely. You can find me at Joseph_Law_Russa on Twitter/X. As I said a few minutes ago, my writing is on Season Gaming. You can find me there as Don Lionheart. Still chugging through the Where Winds Meet thing. I promise people I will have something on Where Winds Meet written. Maybe I'll write it this week. Maybe it'll take one for when I'm back and do it as the first article of the new year. But yeah, that's me. Byron, what about you, Mr. Europe?
Uh, yeah, Radio Free Europe on Blue Sky, threes and free instead of e's. Just a reminder to watch this show on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. If you're doing Spotify or Apple, please rate the show 5 stars, leave comments if you would like. Anything else
Feedback
for you
too.
today, Joe?
Remember, we're happy to chat about things and always happy to talk with you, Byron. Thank you so much for your time here. Thank you for recording so early in the day. I know it's my request to record
Oh,
this
I've
early in
been
the
awake
day, and
for
it
a
was your
while.
request to record a day early. So
I was up at 7, so I'm good. Yeah, well, let's get out of here. Remember, whether it's your gen, my gen, or someone else's, friends can be cross generation. Everybody have a great week. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, etc. All
Take care, all.
right, bye.
Worth crap. It is the absolute